Joe Biden is now the first US president to acknowledge the Armenian Genocide, which has, of course, increased US tensions with Turkey. We'll get to that in just a second. But he has put out a formal announcement. This happened on April 24th, which is the day that the genocide is commemorated. It's also the day that Armenians across the country usually engage in demonstrations in order to pressure the US government to finally acknowledge the genocide as a genocide. Now, in Biden's statement, he said, quote, "Each year on this day, we remember the lives of all those who died in the Ottoman era Armenian genocide and recommit ourselves to preventing such an atrocity from ever again occurring. And we remember that, so we remain ever vigilant against the corrosive influence of hate in all its forms." Now, he says each year we remember, but the fact of the matter is, no, the US government doesn't remember it each year. Previous US presidents have literally campaigned on acknowledging the Armenian genocide, and then as soon as they win the election, they immediately back away from doing so. And it doesn't matter if we're talking about Democrats or Republicans. Obama campaigned on it and didn't follow through. Trump campaigned on it, clearly didn't follow through, even though many Armenians in the US are Trump supporters. The Trump administration pushed back on the congressional attempt to recognize the mass killings as a genocide in 2019. Even when legislation passed overwhelmingly with huge bipartisan support, the State Department declared that it didn't reflect the official position of the administration. So this is the same pattern that we've seen with previous presidents. Biden had also campaigned on this, and to be quite honest with you, I wasn't holding my breath, and I'm genuinely surprised, but pleasantly surprised that he did this. Now, we should discuss why he did this in a minute, but Cenk, initial thoughts.
Yeah, so American presidents have been lying about this for decades. Almost every one of them says they're gonna do it, and then everyone until now had not done it. So you've got to ask why, right? So the difference is politics, electoral politics versus governing politics. So electoral politics, there's more Armenians in America than Turks. So every candidate, Republican or Democrat, is going to want to lean towards the Armenian community. Now, by the way, that doesn't make it right or wrong, okay? I'm just explaining the politics. I'll talk about the policy in a second, okay? But when they get into office, they realize, oh, Turkey's in a very central geographic region. We really need them to check Russia, and then really need them in Syria, Iraq, oftentimes Lebanon, Israel, Ukraine, and it goes Iran. And so there's in such a strategic location that the governments thought, the US governments thought they needed to be appeased. So that's why you see this constant, well, you call it whatever you like, flip-flops or lying about what they were gonna do. Now, so why did Biden choose politically to do it now? Number one, they learned the lesson from the Obama administration. Former Obama officials, including Ben Rhodes and Susan Powers, basically, and Rhodes, I think, had this exact comment: better do it in the first year because it gets harder every single year. Every year there's a new controversy in the Middle East and Russia, etc. Oh my God, Turkey's too important. We don't want to anger them now. So it gets harder and harder to do as you go along. If you're gonna do it, just pull the Band-Aid off, okay? So that was one lesson learned in the Obama administration. The second reason, more important reason, is because Turkey at this point is historically weak strategically in the region. That's because Erdogan has tanked the economy and he's alienated almost every ally in the region. So there is no better time from America's perspective to declare this than now. What is Erdogan gonna do? If he overreacts, he endangers the Turkish economy even more. And his party lost elections in Istanbul, and that's got them really worried. Istanbul is by far the largest city in Turkey, and if you lose power in Istanbul, you might lose power in the whole country. And so, if Biden didn't do it this year, they were never going to do it.
Right.
This was the best time to do it, and they did. I'll get to the policy in a second, but
yes, exactly. I mean, you're absolutely right, and you mentioning that Turkey was seen as like a check on Russia is an important point, because in recent years, Turkey and Russia have engaged in far more diplomatic ties. For instance, Turkey did buy weaponry from Russia, and that infuriated the Trump administration. But that's just a little taste of the growing tensions between the United States and Turkey, because there are growing tensions as a result of Erdogan and his chaotic leadership. So you're right about all of that. This CNN video also touches on other potential factors into Biden's decision making here. And I want you to listen to it, and then we'll kind of unpack it.
Why did Joe Biden go there when so many other presidents have not? Multiple reasons, as I said. Probably number one, this was a campaign promise for Joe Biden, but also he has been trying to reestablish the United States as a leader on the issue of human rights around the world. And then there's the personal relationship. The president did get on the phone with Turkish President Erdogan on Friday to tell him that this was going to happen. This was described to CNN's Kevin Laptak as more or less a tense call. I also have to say, Joe Biden has been a critic of President Erdogan for some time. He's referred to him as an autocrat and even suggested, Fred, that the United States should back an opponent politically of Erdogan in Turkey.
In fact, the messaging coming from the State Department in response to Turkey has been pretty critical. For instance, Secretary of State Anthony Blinken in his confirmation hearing referred to Turkey as a strategic, so-called strategic partner of ours, while criticizing its drift toward Russia. Turkey and Russia have occasionally found their interests aligned when it comes to American influence. The Trump administration also sanctioned Turkey last year over its purchase of a Russian missile defense system. In the beginning of the video, we showed you the desire to really reassert the United States as a leader on human rights is BS. Everyone needs to stop repeating that nonsense. There's nothing about, this is not about morality. This is not about doing the ethical or right thing. On the international stage, especially when the United States is involved, but every country, geopolitical issues always have to do with self-interest, and that's what this is about. The United States has a bad relationship with Erdogan right now, and that's the reason why this decision was made. This was the right decision. I'm not trying to take away from that, but there's a very obvious and real reason why this happened. It has nothing to do with human rights. If anything, maybe the Biden administration wants to be able to continue talking about China engaging in genocide against Uygur Muslims, and in order to do that, they think they need to acknowledge the Armenian Genocide. This provides some cover for that, but it's all self-interested stuff. It has nothing to do with human rights, which is why this issue had not been acknowledged formally until now.
Yeah, so there's other complexities too. Turkey's not towing the line on Iran, how dangerous they are and how we need to invade. Turkey used to have a great relationship with Israel. Now they have a very poor relationship with Israel. The Russian arms purchases didn't help anybody. All these things are factors. Trump should have recognized the Armenian Genocide, and all of his fans thought he was going to, and how he was going to be tough and strong. He did the exact opposite. Not only did he not recognize it, he gave Erdogan a giant gift when he withdrew from northern Syria. And that was just personal corruption. It appears that he has significant financial interest in Turkey, and Erdogan just had to make a call. And Trump was like, yeah, sure, I don't care about Armenian people, Syrian people, I don't care, Kurdish, I don't care about any of them. Well, where's the money, okay? So now, hence, give Biden a lot of credit for doing the principal thing, even if it's for geopolitical and strategic reasons,
yes.
Okay? Now, just a quick note on the policy. Look, the Turkish government has no leg to stand on. They say, this insults our Turkishness, who cares? That's not a thing. It's criminal in Turkey, but it's absurd. And saying that there's the country, in this case, it's not the Republic of Turkey, it was the old Ottoman Empire, right? Did something wrong, doesn't mean every person is guilty. And that's a thing that a healthy country does to get better. So just like here in America, when we criticize American government, it doesn't mean we hate America, it means we want America to get better. It's not insulting Americanness. And then the Armenians say that 1.5 million people died. Historians generally agree with them. The Turkish government says, no, we only killed 300,000 people. How is that any better? Like that's like going to a trial on assault and saying, and this literally happened to a friend of mine where the other guy said, no, Your Honor, I didn't hit him in the face, I hit him in the stomach. That's assault either way. And this is genocide either way. So just in case you're unclear, genocide definition is a crime of acting to, quote, destroy in whole or in part a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group. So was this an ethnic group that was targeted at the time? Of course. They didn't target Norwegians, or they target Armenians, right? And was it in whole or in part? Of course. Srebrenica was considered a genocide by the United Nations. Only 8,000 people died. Now, look, I say only 8,000 people dying is awful. And they were targeted in that case because they were Muslims. And so, and I want you to know this context too. Two last things. At the same time, yes, Anna's right. It is different pronunciations, but it's actually my last name, Uygur, right? The Uygur Muslims in China, Biden said what the Chinese government is doing to those Uygur Muslims is also a genocide, okay? So he's not trying to insult the Chineseness of China. He's saying don't do that to Uygur Muslims, right? And that is a genocide. And so they are being fair in how they are applying it. Now, look, I'm Turkish American, so I have plenty of Turkish friends here that and back at home in Turkey that object to this, of course, right? Because of their Turkish pride, etc., right? And so one, I just told you all the reasons why it doesn't make sense. But two, they say, oh, they're targeting us because we're Turkish and they want to spread these things about Turks and Muslims. First, I love you guys, but don't flatter yourself, okay?
Yeah, no one's in America thinking about like, oh, what can we do to damage the reputations of Turks in Turkey? Like,
I got news for you.
We got our own problems.
In America, for better or for worse, no one cares about Turks. Like only from your Turkish perspective do you think, oh, they're obsessed with taking us down a notch. They're not obsessed with you at all. They never think about you, except for situations like this.
Yeah.
But more importantly, they say, oh, but they're gonna teach all the children to hate Turks. Okay, I get it, that's a concern, right? But guys, we also teach them about the Holocaust, and that's Germans, and we teach them about the rape of Nanking, and that's the Japanese. We're not telling them to hate Germans or Japanese people. Is it a coincidence that that happens? The Germans, Japanese, and the Turks were their main opponents of America in World War I and World War II? Likely not a coincidence. There have been dozens, if not hundreds, of genocides in the world. We have focused on those for good reasons, but also for geopolitical reasons, etc., right? Yeah. And America should be honest with itself too. We should recognize the genocide of the Native Americans, and I arguably, based on this definition, what we did to Africans that we brought here, now African Americans, was that a genocide? Of course! Beatings, lynchings, rape, murder, you name it. So let's all, Americans, Turks, everyone, be honest about what has happened in the past so that we do not repeat it and we move forward. And let's not target any particular people, but let's be honest about everybody and all the crimes of the past so that, again, we can get better.
So I got to end the story with Erdogan's reaction because it does actually illustrate a cultural disconnect between Turks and Americans, because he put this statement out there thinking like, oh yeah, well then I'm gonna call you guys out and you guys are gonna hate it. But most Americans read this and they're like, yep, you're right. He said this. If you say genocide, then you need to look at yourselves in the mirror and make an evaluation. The Native Americans, I don't even need to mention them. What happened is clear. While all these truths are out there, you cannot pin the genocide accusation on the Turkish people. So the last part of that statement is ridiculous. The first part of that statement is accurate. Yes, the settlers, the European settlers in the United States committed a genocide of the Native Americans. That is true, and I'm glad that he brought that up. And I'm not offended by it. I don't see that as the Turkish government trying to destroy the reputations of the American people. I think the American government does a pretty fine job of that in the current moment with our involvement in Yemen right now. Yeah. And so that doesn't make me insecure about my identity, my heritage, my anything. I think that it makes you strong and courageous to be able to own up to your past mistakes and want to do better moving forward.
Yeah, look, I'll add, Leslie. If you're targeting Turks in general, that's obviously not healthy, and it could be argued to be racist. If you're talking about this particular crime and genocide, yes, it happened, it clearly happened. And so They moved them, there was massacres, I can go on and on and on, right? And for Turks, they don't get it. They think like, oh, we are being personally targeted and we're the only people being targeted. Does it make you feel any better if I say, yes, the Mongols committed genocide in Baghdad when they came into the largest city in the world at the time and massacred every man, woman, and child? That was 800,000 people that they killed. Yes, that was a genocide. Yes, what happened to the Native Americans was a genocide. It doesn't make it any better. This is not a ha-ha thing. Oh, it's because you're thinking about it the wrong way. There's nothing wrong with accepting what you did wrong in the past, learning from it and getting better. That's not a bad thing, that's a good thing. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, I really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.